Hey everybody, meet Foo-Foo. This is Foo-Foo. He's a good doggy. He's a good doggy. Much like Baby, he's a pit bull. Good morning here, YouTube people. What is going on with you all today? Ow. I'm here in Atlanta. I don't choose to indulge in what part of Atlanta I'm in. Atlanta is very big, and if you don't know the area, it would be almost impossible for you to figure it out. But nevertheless, I'm here. I'm not really into revealing where I stay at this moment in time. I'm looking to probably relocate here before too long, and it's been amazing. It's really an amazing time. I've been very calm. I've been with my peace, and I don't want to change any of that. I don't like to have chaos in my life. I very much get away from it as soon as I find out that that's what it's all about. I have in my past had a lot of chaos, but I choose not to do so at this moment in time. And I wanted to talk about what it was like being homeless here in Atlanta. I was actually in a different area than what I'm in right now. And it was chaos. It was really bad. I had a lot of issues that occurred. I had to defend myself. But all in all, I felt comforted that my father was there for me. Police officials and people that work within the city, they all liked me for some reason, and they would help me out periodically. I've had police officers bring me food, give me money, things like that, and it was really special, and I was very thankful and grateful for all of it. The general population of people, I mean, some people will just walk by you, they'll look at you, and then you have some people that are rude towards you, just flat out rude. But all in all, you have really good people out here also that see that you're struggling and they try to help you. The only thing is out of maybe 100 people, you have probably 10 that are bad and 90 that are, pretty good people. I mean, like I said, they see that you're struggling and they try to help you out. But the 10 that are bad is what makes it bad on all of us. Now, in the homeless sense, 90% of all of them were messy people. So if they were in one general area, sitting around, hanging around, this, that, and the other thing, they would leave big messes. And I noticed that. Now, when I lived on my own in a house, I tended to not do things right away. I talked about this before. Procrastination was a big deficit in my life, and I don't want to go through that again. But when I lived by myself, I made dishes and that. I put them in the sink, and then the next day I would wash them because I would get tired of seeing them. But it was the next day, so there were a bunch of dishes in the sink. I'm pretty big on watching Andy Griffith, and he was actually like that in that show. Him and Opie made big messes, and then they would wait for Aunt Bee to come home and clean it all up or whatever. And I was basically that same type of person, but now that I see all of the homeless people that are around, they don't clean up after themselves. They throw trash all over the ground and all over everything, and that is why we have city people that clean up. And I guess they get used to that there are people that clean up, so they just go ahead and do it even more. But why not clean up after yourself? I don't get that. But all in all, I met a girl yesterday. Beautiful black girl. She's nicest that I could possibly endure. And she gave me $30, and I said, well, I'm thankful for that, but I don't actually need it like I used to. But she was like, no, I want you to have it. So I was like, okay, I'll take it. Because, like I said, I try not to deny somebody of their own blessing. By people giving you something, they have in return a blessing coming. So I take it even though I didn't need it, and it makes them feel better about themselves, I guess, and it made me feel better by knowing that person was going to be blessed as well, and of course I can use $30, but it's not exactly necessary, as I am making my own money at this moment in time, but it will keep me from having to take from the money that I'm making and buy food and this and that. So it is helping me out in some cases. Now, as far as the sleeping arrangements are concerned, there are certain places that you cannot sleep in the middle of the night. And the difference between here and Manila is very, very different. Manila, Philippines, when I was there, boy, I want to tell you, I mean, just about the whole sidewalk was taken up by all these cardboard pieces and people laying all in them. There were people that, like women, that had babies, and they were breastfeeding their babies right out in the open, and we don't have that here, There's places that you can breastfeed a baby in private here in the United States, but I guess they don't really have those types of places there. And a woman walked up to me and propositioned me. She said, I'll give you sex for 1,500 pesos. And I was like, no, thank you. But she was coughing, which didn't mean anything. If she looked like she was not sick at all, I still would have said no. But she was coughing as if she had tuberculosis or something, and it was kind of scary even just being close to her. And I was like, no thank you. I had I guess 6,000 pesos in my pocket at that moment in time, so I could afford it, but I said no thank you. And it was really crazy. But plus in Manila, most of the sidewalks and all of that, it smells like the open bathroom. I mean, it just smelled terrible of urine everywhere. And it's a lot different than here, because here you see most of the area, you don't have trash heaps and things like that right next to a 5-star hotel. But there, you do. You have little junkie towns and stuff like that, and you got like hotels right close by to these places, and even like I said, junk heaps, like old buildings that have fallen apart and that, and they just leave it there in rubble, and they don't bother to clean it up, and it's not a nice place, especially in some of the places that I was at in Manila. But it is what it is. I'm not cursing that place. I'm just saying it's not exactly as people would think. And I guess this is the reason why they call that a third world country, because it's a lot different here. We have people that come around. They come around on what we call gators. They're like a four-wheeled little vehicle, and they pick up all the trash and everything else, and everything's maintained very nice and clean. And all the buildings, you could see, as far as you could see down, there's no junk heaps and little villages and things like that where people are selling their foods on the side of the road and it's smelling like a urinal and that. It doesn't smell nothing like that down this way. It doesn't smell like that anywhere that I know of in Atlanta, but maybe there is a couple of places. But nevertheless, it's not like it was there. In Atlanta alone, there's probably 180, 200 churches that you can go to for a meal, for a shower, for clothes, and this and that. And you could choose to go different days to different places and this and that, and they give you shoes and socks and underwear and pants and shirts, jackets, any kind of clothing you would want, and they'll give you backpacks and tents and sleeping bags and blankets and hygiene products and just anything and everything that you could think of that you could live off of, they have to give you. So it's not a really big problem to live within the confines of a city area. It's just where to find shelter, meaning like if it rains or snows or something like that, where could you go? I didn't stay under a quote-unquote bridge per se, but a bypass bridge, I guess you could call it, where I stayed out of the rain, but I wasn't right under people's feet where people could see me and things like that. In the civilian life, we always say out of sight, out of mind. But in the Army, when I was there, they said in plain sight is the best way to be. So I kind of diverted it a little bit to the point that, I stayed in plain sight, but to a certain degree, I wasn't like right up under people. And it was pretty amazing, There was a Lutheran church that people would call here a soup kitchen because they had soup every day. And I would go there and eat soup every day, like good hearty soup, not, chicken noodle soup. They would put several different cans of soup all together and then a particular flavor with it. Like, they would take garlic and salt and pepper and this and that and everything else and make it into their own design. Let's just say that. But, and they would take canned vegetables and that and put them up in there also. And, it was really good soup. And then you would have on 5th Street, they had what you call the dinner club on Tuesday, and then Saturday would be the breakfast club, and they have like scrambled eggs and bacon and biscuits and this and that and everything else. And they home cooked it right there in the church while you were waiting on them. And then, they would pass them all out. At first, we were able to go inside, but then COVID got bad, so we were outside, and it was okay. It really was. It's not the best of life, but it's a lot better than nothing at all. I mean, I never just sit around and not have anything to eat. I always knew where to go. There's a church called Antioch. It's Wednesday, and they serve fried fish over there, and rice, and vegetables, and this, that, and the other thing. Thursday, another church about 1.5 miles away from that was fried chicken day, and every Thursday you would go and get fried chicken, and also the same types of entrees. But all in all, it wasn't that bad. Then they had Saturday, you could go to a Methodist church, and like I said, you had breakfast club, and then after that, we went down to Loaves of Fishes or something like that, down near Grant Park, and they just gave you a whole plate of food. I mean, it was just different types of things, but a big, huge plate of food. So I didn't eat 3 times a day. I only ate twice back during that time, because the foods that they chose to give you were fattening, so you didn't have an empty stomach, and carbohydrates and things like that were probably not so great for you, but like I said, they would fill you up, and I wouldn't be hungry the rest of the night. Go the next day to get breakfast at another church. But 180 to 200 of those churches within the Atlanta area, they have shelters here, and people ask me in my past, why you don't go to a shelter? Well, here is the problem with shelters. A shelter is only designed to hold so many people. Like, most of the shelters here in Atlanta are like 35 capacity. And you have like 30,000 homeless people. So you can imagine people standing in line waiting to get into the shelter. And then they only offer you 21 days in a shelter. And after you get done with the shelter, then where do you go? That's pretty much how it works here. My mother talked to me about 2 years ago, I guess, somewhere in that neighborhood, about them getting containers, truck containers, and housing people in those. And I've seen areas like that. They also have what they call Tent City here. Okay? And people would stay in one general area in 1,000+ tents all over in that particular area. That way it confined you to one area instead of there being 20,000 tents all around the city, and that, because they didn't want that. So they did that. The only problem that I ever had, like I said, was the 10 out of the 100 people that would call, and they would say, they would even go as far as telling lies, Well, this person is menacing there, I'm a very quiet type person. I don't go out of my way to make a problem for anybody, but people will call. Oh, well, they're over there, they're making noise, and they're telling people this and that, just nasty type things to get the cops to come out and move you on. And it got to be real bad after a while, but I learned to deal with that. I learned to move where I needed to move and do what I needed to do. And go with the flow, like I said. In the area that I was in last, when I was in my last days of being homeless, I loved all the people out there, and those people really took good care of me, and they said they couldn't understand why anybody would want me to be moving anywhere, because I wasn't a menace to their area. They actually appreciated me being there, and they treated me like a king, and like security, extra security there, because they knew they had a lot of riprap over that way. But nevertheless, they told me that they really appreciated me being there. But I did get moved by the police over in that area, and it was all because of some hateful people. There are hateful people in this world. We have to know that. But all in all, it wasn't really a traumatic experience. It was very eye-opening, and I wish not to have that happen to me again, but it is what it is, like they say. But nevertheless, it happened, and I'm grateful and thankful for that experience, learning that what it is that I have transformed into today, the man that I have become, is 100% different than what I used to be. And I'm very thankful and grateful for all of that and for my experiences, because it has taught me how to keep myself from becoming the doormat in people's lives, that they could just wipe their feet all over me and move on. I don't choose to have that type of person in my life anymore, and I'm very keen to understanding who is that type of person and who is not. And I don't believe it will ever happen to me again. Just because of my past experiences, I know what to look for in a new person. That being said, I just wanted to get with you on my experiences as a homeless person. I know that it's important to understand that, not everything is what it appears. And when you have an experience like mine, you understand that even if somebody comes to you in a right manner, tries to say all the right things, tries to do all the right things, and then they just totally do 180 on you, you have to be prepared to not only take that blunt stab, I guess you could say, but turn it around and change yourself through the whole matter. But be prepared, because if you're not, you could end up being out on the street, and it's not the greatest of greats to be out there. So, but I want you to know that I love you. I love you right there. Love yourself. Love my Father God. And by all means, love each other, people. Until the next time, love, peace, and soul.